Hi all, so today we'll learn about what is variable in Java. So let's proceed with our PPT. So variable is basically a container which is used to store data in memory during the program execution. Whenever your program is being executed, it has some variables that takes up some memory. So variable is a kind of container. Or you can say that variable is a named storage location that holds some values. For example, in other languages also you have seen int a equals to 10. What we are doing here is we are assigning a variable named a value say 10. So here a is a variable. For example, if we take some general examples, a bottle stores water. So what is bottle here? Bottle is a variable that is storing some value, that is water. That is not value we should say, but something that is that bottle is storing is water. Or you have seen in libraries we have bookshelves, right? So the shelves here can be considered as the variable, and whatever books you have kept inside that shelves will be considered as their value. Similarly, a variable stores a data. For example, int will store a data, something numeric data, or if we use something as character, these are data types. We'll see them in future. For example, if you use a character data type, you also uh, store some characters in that. If you use some boolean, that we'll see later. Okay, so like int age equals to 25. What is int here? Int here is a data type which we will see in future video what all data types we have. Age is a variable name and 25 is a value stored inside a variable, or we can say them as literals. Okay, sometimes interviewers ask what is literal and people gets confused. So always remember, literal is a value that you are storing in a variable, and variable is a kind of container or a storage which is used to store your literals or your values. Okay, so here age is a variable which is storing a value 25. Similarly, you can have a string data type. Inside the string data type, we have created a variable name which is storing value as Jyoti, and string always gets stored in double quotes. Here you have observed like integer values we are not storing in quotes, but for string we use double quotes to store some values. For characters we use single quotes, and for integers double float we don't use any quotes. Okay, and here each field is stored using a variable. So here name, age, salary, all these three are variables that are storing different values. For example, name is storing string value, age is storing int value, salary is storing double value. Okay, so why do we need variables? You should know this first. Every time I teach you something, I should expect you now that you should always have this question: why do we need to do this? So why do we need variables? Because without variables you won't be able to store, reuse your data. Without variables it will be difficult or impossible for you to do some calculations or to do some programming dynamics and all. Without variables you can't store your data. So variables help us to store data, update data, reuse data, perform calculations, and make some programs dynamic. Okay, so if you want to perform sum of two numbers, for example a and b, you store them in a integer variables a and b. So if you won't have the concept of variables, your calculation will become difficult. You won't be able to perform even a simple addition task. And what is the syntax of variable declaration? I have shown you int a equals to 10, right? Int a equals to 10. Now relate it with what is int? I told you already, it was data type. What was a? It was variable name. And what was 10? It was value. And remember to use semicolon at the end of the program, otherwise you will get compilation error. Similarly, int marks equals to 95 and then semicolon. This is the variable declaration. For string, you can store like string city equals to Delhi. Remember, strings you store in double quotes, and for characters you use single quotes. Now, steps in variable creation. How can you create a variable? First, we'll see PPT, then we'll do it on VS Code also. First of all, first step is declaration, then is initialization, then is usage. So, to declare a variable, you are just telling Java what type of data it will store. For example, int age. So you are telling Java that my age is a variable name that will store a data of type integer. Okay. So then later you will assign value to that variable. So later you told Java that I already have declared my age variable of data type int. Now I'm assigning it a value that is 25. So we will not use int here again because we have already declared that. And later you will use this variable like printing the value of the age. So I want you to check this in IDE. So let's proceed. So I hope you can see my VS Code. So here let's create a variable name int age equals to 21. Then, or let's say we will just first declare this variable. This is declaration. Then what we have is age equals to 21. Here we have done initialization. Then we'll use system.out.println my age is, or for now just will print age. Okay. So let's see what is it. This is some suggestions that VS Code is giving for me, but you can ignore them for now. So remember, everywhere I have used semicolon at the end because without that it will not work. Now you can see if I'll just comment out the above lines, you'll be able to see the results better. See, here I am getting error java.lang.class not found because there is some error while running this program. Let's rerun this. Uh, some intermittent error. I think this here it has printed 21. There is some intermittent error that won't occur in your system because I have made so many settings in VS Code that is impacting me. From tomorrow, I'll install it fresh so you won't face this problem tomorrow. For now, bear with me. So I just want you to tell how we declare, initialize, and all those things for a variable. That is just very, very basic for a Java, and you should be clear with everything till now. Now, types of variables in Java, there are three types of variable. First is local, second is instance, and third is static. Whatever we have created, like if we have multiple classes. So let's proceed with them later because these are very large topics that won't get covered in this video, and just giving you some glimpse about this. If you have declared any variable inside a method, constructor, or a block, that is your local variable. Local name itself is suggesting that it will be declared inside something. For example, you have this show method. Now you must be confused like what is this you have written. That's why we'll go will not go in much depth for now. You just be aware that if we are using two curly braces after some name, then this means we are creating some function or a method. Inside that we are declaring int x equals to, and side by side we are initializing is value of x as 10. So this x is a local variable because it is created inside a method. So whenever you'll what are the features now you can see this. This gets created when method starts, and whenever the method will end, this method will end at this curly braces, and at this time your variable will get destroyed, and it should be initialized before being used. Otherwise your program will throw errors. Next is instance variable is declared inside class but outside method. This is a class student and you have declared this only. You can initialize it in the method you will create inside this class. Okay, so for this you just remember, if you have declared a variable inside a method, no, inside a class, but you have initialized it at later point of stages in another method inside that class. Then we have static variable. Static is always declared with a static keyword. For this is very memory efficient keyword, which we will see in detail. The role of static, basically it leads you to call whatever thing you have declared without creating the object of that class. You can directly call them with the class name. This is the most important benefit of static keyword, and it is shared by all the objects and it is very memory efficient. So for now, let's tell you about local variable and instance variable in VS Code. So I hope you can see my VS Code. Here you can see this int age. This we have declared here. But what if we, for this method, you can say this is a local variable. Okay. But what if we have declared it here and the initialization is done in some other method? If I'll use these two lines here, wait a second. If I'll print those lines there, then what it becomes, taking too long to, let's write it again. Age equals to 21, and then you print this system dot out dot println and age if you are printing here. So then it becomes, now it becomes what it becomes, because you have declared this outside in a different method and you are using it in a different method by initializing it. So this age is a instance variable here. Okay, but what we have seen in the PPT for local variable was the before, which I had shown you. If you consider the main method, so for the that main method, our age variable, which we had seen before, was local. Okay, so what are the variable naming conventions? Like till now we are using age, marks, or these kind of keywords. But what are the rules we need to follow? Because you can't use anything to write a variable name. You should be careful about it. Rules that are most important are you can have letters, digit, underscore, and dollar symbol. Except these two symbols, you cannot have any other special character while naming a variable. For example, this is a valid variable name, age. Age one is also valid. You can start it with underscore or dollar. So all these are valid variable names. Also, you cannot start any of the variable name with a number. If you write int one age, this is wrong. But you can write age one because this is being started with a character or a string or a letter, whatever you want to say. But you cannot start it with a number. Remember these are very important. And third rule is you cannot use Java keywords. Like I told you about static is a Java keyword, void is a Java keyword, class is a Java keyword, public is a class keyword. So you cannot have a variable with these reserved names. Okay, because they are already reserved in Java for some purpose. Okay, and also variable names are case sensitive. If you write it with small age and a caps age, both of these mean different. Both of these will be different variables. Both of these will be considered as different. Also, spaces are not allowed if you are writing some name. You can use underscore or dollar between them, but or you can write it this way in a camel case, but you cannot give space between them. Okay. Now, variable naming convention, some best practices is camel case, which I just told you. You can remember it in such a way. See, first, for the first, this is basically the combination of two words. Okay. And the first word has first letter small, and the second word has first letter caps. That is with student name. You can see employee, salary, total, marks. This is considered as the best practice. Avoid writing names like this, and this. All caps, we don't prefer. Underscore between names, we don't prefer. And we don't prefer like everything is in small letters. And typing X will not, int X, what is X? This might lead to confusion. It's not industry specific practice. You must have used A, B, C, X, Y, Z in your college, but don't use it in industry. You should write code in such a way if any other developer or programmer is reading your code, it should easily understand what does this X means. Like this X is total marks. Okay, write some meaningful variable names. Now this is just an example that it is the int data type, variable named age, double data type, salary, and assigning this salary. Character, I told you in single quotes. Boolean, either true or false. We'll see data types, then you'll better understand this. Strings, I told you in double quotes. And this is just system.out.println printing those values. Now you can, I want you to run this program in your VS Code and see the output. The output, you can imagine what will be the output. Here it will give us 25. Then salary, it will give us whatever the salary we have written. The grade, it will give us A. Is passed, will give us true or one. I want you to tell me, is will this be one or true? Okay, so name, it will print as Jyoti. Okay. Now, common mistake what students make is they use uninitialized local variable that they have just declared them. They have not used it, like initialized it with some value, for example, 10. Then you can expect its value to get printed on console. Then you can use this statement. But sometimes people just declare them and not initialize them and just wanted to print this value. That will show some errors. Then you can't start a variable name with numbers, that people sometimes forgot. And also sometimes they use static, void, and all reserve keywords as their variable names. That is not allowed. And sometimes they get confused while declaring and initializing. So when you are first time declaring a variable with some data type assigning to it, that is declaration. And when you are giving it some value or literal, that is initialization. So one line revision will be: variable is the named memory location which is used to store some data. And the syntax is data type, then variable name, then the value. Three types of variable we have: local, instance, and static. They cannot start with a number. We cannot use keywords or reserved words as the variable names. They are case sensitive and prefer using camel case naming convention, and local variables need initialization. For now, you can skip this line. So this was all about this video. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe. Thanks.